Hello everyone and welcome to Nara's Tarot. Thank you very much for being here. In today's reading, we are going to channel a real talk from Spirit. So we'll take a look at some kind of honest truth, the real deal about a situation that you need to know about, and we're going to channel whatever this comes through from Spirit, okay? So we have 3 piles for you today. This is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. So feel free to pause the video here if you'd like to take some time to connect with the piles, and otherwise I will see you at your reading. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. So we're going to start off with our tarot cards to look at a real truth, the real talk from Spirit, okay? So starting off, we have the 3 of Swords in reverse. We have the 5 of Wands. The Knight of Wands in reverse. And the Queen of Wands also in reverse. You have a lot of Wands energy in your reading. 3 out of 4 cards are Wands cards. So Wands are very fiery energy. They talk about intention, about how we use our willpower. So there is a lot of exertion of energy in that sense in your life going on right now. Alright, pile 1. So I sat with your cards for a little bit and I am feeling this energy of you guys really wanting to manifest and achieve something in your lives, especially when it comes to career, when it comes to business or some kind of project, passion project that you have. This is very much you guys wanting to put yourselves out there and make a name for yourselves, okay? And the real talk from Spirit is that you're facing a lot of competition from the people in your field with this 5 of Wands here. And you're feeling the heat of this competition and not really knowing how do you navigate, the idea of maybe winning over customers, or how do you actually gain a competitive advantage over your competitors? How do you actually be part of this industry and this competition in a way that is, I guess, could we say healthy? To have healthy competition in your life and to have an attitude of wanting to be in a state of healthy competition. Because when the Knight and the Queen of Wands are both in reverse, this is us getting into a little bit of resignation kind of vibes over here, because we don't feel equipped for whatever reason to be able to tackle our opponents or tackle the competition. We don't feel equipped as well to just put our stuff out there. So maybe some of you are also hesitating a little bit because you're judging your work and comparing yourself with the people around you. I see a lot of you getting a little bit affected by the competition. Maybe competition is very stiff. Maybe it's about that there are very few slots available for some kind of an application, and it is a very tough competition. But I do feel many of you are kind of like resigned to losing even before you've given yourself a real shot. And so this is the real talk from Spirit, is saying that, is pointing out this situation that you've given up before you've given yourself a good chance. And they also want to point out to you, Spirit also wants to tell you with the 3 of Swords in reverse here, that the good thing about you is that you recently kind of like overcame some kind of past disappointment. You were able to overcome a situation that has left you feeling very frustrated and very disappointed, and you were able to pick yourself up. So they are pointing to something that is positive here. So this real talk isn't just about like all of like the hard truths and tough love kind of message. Spirit actually also wants to acknowledge that you've done really, really good at picking yourself up from an emotionally challenging situation that's very likely to related to this situation that you're dealing with. I just heard that some of you had to pick yourself up from other people who were judging you and who were giving you their opinions in a very unkind manner, and you have had to pick yourself up from those harsh criticisms. And that wasn't easy, especially if you were receiving these harsh criticisms over a long period of time, and you've had to kind of like take that out of your system and then remove those limiting beliefs, remove that very harsh, critical inner voice that you adopted from your environment or from your parents or from your teachers, something like that. You've had to do that work, which is amazing, right? And so you've got out of that. And now that you've decided to join in on the competition and be part of like this step of putting yourself out there, you're encountering a new challenge now where you are facing up against other people who are also as driven, as ambitious, as hungry as you are. And that's like a new thing altogether, because now that you've overcome your own inner kind of like inner conflict, you now enter into the arena to deal with the external conflict, quote unquote. And the thing is, guidance is coming through from spirit about how you can navigate this competition in a way that doesn't burn you out. Because the Queen of Wands here is that feeling of, I'm a little bit burnt out by constantly competing and comparing myself with other people. And maybe you don't feel completely like yourself. You don't feel like when you compare and when you compete with other people, like the work that you put out is a little bit different compared to if you just did your stuff and made the best work that you could and put it out there into the market. Whatever your work is, whether it is like a creative kind of outlet or whether it is like an actual business that you're putting out. But the more you try to compare and make yourself like quote unquote better than your competitors, the less this feels like you. And when it doesn't feel like you, it kind of like loses its essence, and it loses its uniqueness to it, because it kind of just ends up being the same as other people. So there's a little bit of a learning curve here to play both games in a way that doesn't burn you out. And by both games, I mean competing, yes, with the market, because that's going to be there, that competition will exist. But also then the other game is, how do you still retain your own uniqueness and have kind of like have something that people want to buy from you or get from you, like a service or a product that they want, whilst you still retain your uniqueness, right? And not just be like a mass market kind of product, but you still have something that's different that you can offer. So it is a learning curve, and this discomfort that you're feeling now isn't out of the norm, is what Spirit is saying. So they want to assure you that it's part of the process. It is something that many people go through, and you doing this work for yourself to discover your unique voice amidst the crowd is going to be very essential for you to be able to eventually stand out and do things on your own terms, okay? Now let's grab our oracle cards now to see what else Spirit wants you to know. We have movement into balance. This is card 1. And we also have number 7, reunion of souls. Okay, so the reunion of souls card really reminds me of like you reuniting with your audience, reuniting with people who want to receive your work or receive your service. So have faith, that your people will come to you and you will be able to build your audience. There's no doubt about that. Movement into balance is guidance for you to have a little bit more structure is one thing in your day, meaning that if you feel like you're working 10-hour days and you barely have energy at the end of the day and you're still feeling like it's not enough or that you need to do more work, this is calling for a little bit more balance, where you do need to take care of your other needs, right? You have your physical health, you have your rest, you have other parts of your day that may seem frivolous. For instance, like exercising now may seem frivolous compared to like just putting all of your eggs into making the best possible product or service. But maybe it's through exercising, it's through these downtimes that we create in our day that we actually gain inspiration, right? That we actually give ourselves some kind of mental respite that can make us more creative, right? So you do need to consider that it's not just about work, okay? Underneath the deck, we have number 11, new day. So there will be new beginnings. There will be a new chapter opening up for you in this journey of yours. New day is also speaking to the fact that you want to create more moments of spontaneity and moments of I don't want to, yeah, like it's like doing new things, like being more innovative. Um, and innovative in big and small ways, you know. So maybe something that you could do, which is quote unquote innovative, right? Or just fun, is to maybe work from a different place aside from your usual desk. And I know that's really simple and that's kind of like a no-brainer, but the more you kind of like push yourself out of your comfort zone to do new things, to explore new things, see new things, give yourself like new input, be it from your environment or from art or from talking to more people or from like absorbing other things, the less obsessive you will get over like just this one detail that you are obsessing over at work, right? And it's kind of like the more you like expand your creative horizon, the easier you will be able to kind of like resolve any creative dilemmas that you have in your work, in your project. And I say creative dilemmas, but I really mean just anything that you're creating, right? And be it art or business, or maybe you're doing science and it's nothing to do with anything creative, but if you are in the business of making something, be it product, service, whatever it is, then yes, these are the creative dilemmas I'm referring to. Okay, let's see what else Spirit wants you to know. All right, we have confusion. We have bittersweet, destiny, and passion. Oh, underneath the deck, guilt. Okay. This bittersweet card is really interesting because I wonder if some of you have had to like move on from something. You've had to walk away from a life that you once knew in order to pursue this passion of yours. Passion and destiny are here, right? And they're very clear. You are walking your path right now. You are on track, on the right path, doing what you're passionate in and what you are destined to do. But then there's also this confusion and bittersweetness because maybe it doesn't feel like passion every day. You know, it feels like probably it doesn't feel great. You know, it feels like it's a tough ride. You know, it's not easy to walk your passion. It's not easy to walk your destiny. And therefore there is this confusion. But also there's a bittersweetness. I think some of you might be holding on to the past. You are still thinking of a different life. An example I can bring up is, for instance, if you are wanting to do your own business and you've already set out on your own terms and you're actively promoting yourself, you might be just kind of like reminiscing the times when you were working in a 9 to 5 and having like a regular salary. That could be something that you miss because right now in business it's like you have to pay the bills and you've got to like roll up your sleeves and do everything by yourself. So there is that bittersweetness there, but I think you're ready to you know that this is the step you want to take. It's just a matter of just accepting it and fully just letting it go. Okay, so allow yourself to let go of this energy here. And I think confusion is everything that we've spoken about in the tarot part of the message. It's not knowing where to go with this idea of competition. It's not knowing how do you stand out in the market. And let's unfold more. We will have more oracle cards. Let's see what our spirit wants to reveal to you. But guilt underneath the deck also is some of you feeling like, you know, you are devoting so much time to your passion project, to this business, to this career, and not giving enough time to other aspects of your life. If you feel guilty to your family, maybe to your friends, or maybe even to yourself, feeling like you haven't really been taking care of yourself, this card here, oh, okay, I just got a message that the guilt and the confusion could be connected. And I don't know how they are connected, but if you were to allow yourself to spend a little bit more time with other areas of your life, right? And so you're not just tunnel vision into this one business or this one passion project, but you actually allow yourself to do it and also take care of other aspects of your life, you might actually feel less confused. Because a little bit of this confusion comes from the tunnel vision, because we're just staring so intently at this one problem and we're looking at the problem, we're not looking at the solution, you know. So you're constantly thinking about how do you solve this, how do you solve that, but you keep looking at the problem, but the solution comes from looking elsewhere. So do those things, do those self-care, spend time with your family, with your friends, do the housework, do everything, do the life stuff, because the life stuff is going to help you help your business stuff. They're not like disconnected. They're actually a lot more interconnected. So do those things. It will help you to figure out something in your work. Okay, interesting message there. Let's see what else Spirit wants you to know. All right, we have here called soul gifts and training. It's time to step up. You definitely received the calling, and you stepped up the plate to go do what you want to do. This is again real talk from Spirit, right? And Spirit is saying and confirming that yeah, you're on the right track. All right, so don't doubt yourself. Don't hesitate about whether or not you're the person for it, whether or not you are the right fit for the market, or whether or not people will appreciate your product or your service or whatever it is. Like, they will, because you are walking your path. And the most important thing for you to do is to just walk this path. It will reveal itself to you, okay? Underneath the deck, we have Cosmic Heart, Devotion, Potency, make your life a moving prayer. When we're walking our destiny, there's a lot more that comes into play than what meets the eye, on the surface, people might think that you are just running a business or doing some kind of a passion project, but really underneath the surface, you know what you had to confront in order to rise to this calling. You know what you had to give up. You know what you had to sacrifice. You know the kind of prayers that you have said in the middle of the night. Like, only you know those things. So there's a lot more going on, and Spirit wants to acknowledge that you're doing like an amazing job at responding to the calling. Okay, now let's get you some Isis Oracle cards, see if she has a message for you. Okay, and we have here Scales of Balance, Ancient Tantra of the Soul. Again, we have a balance card. And then we have Queen of Heaven, Blessing from the Divine Empress of the Skies. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna read both out from the book, okay? Let's see here, Scales of Balance first. All right, so Scales of Balance, Ancient Tantra of the Soul, it says, you are Tantrika and initiate on the path of divine healing of the masculine and feminine, the two sacred polarities that are universal to human experience. As these energies come into mutual respect and balance, you attain great power, presence, and healing effect in the world of the soul and in the human world of forms here on this earth. You are supported in further exploring this path now under the auspices and blessings of beloved Isis. So, Scales of Balance is also about bringing together harmony in polarities that you experience or that we experience as a collective. So part of your work could really be about blending and creating harmony between two things that may seem very unrelated or two things that could be opposing. Some of you feel like, I am picking up a sense of like some of you guys being in a more humanitarian kind of work. You want to actually bring people together. You want to resolve differences. You want to have people in conversation rather than in conflict. So that's something that you could be doing, and Scales of Balance is assistance from the universe coming in to help you to do this work, okay? Now let's take a look at Queen of Heaven. Queen of Heaven, the Divine Empress of the Skies, acknowledges your feminine authority now. As a man or as a woman, you have a life path of spiritual leadership to bring qualities of mercy, compassion, and wisdom into the world. Okay, so it's a very big vision that you have to bring harmony and bring peace to people through your words, through your actions, through the work that you do as well, okay? So you're being blessed to walk this path. And underneath the deck, we have High Priestess, Mysteries revealed in the eyes of Isis. Okay, let me just read out from the book as well for this one. And High Priestess over here says, Beloved Isis gazes upon you now, and behind her vast eyes, mysteries are unveiled. A new clarity around your direction is unfolding. Be willing to wait for the full reveal, but also recognize what is happening at this time. You will be gaining valuable insight into where you're being led and for what purpose. It is an exciting time. It is an exciting moment in your unfoldment. Have reverence and an open heart and mind, and wait patiently for the grand revelation that is on its way. Okay, so you will also be receiving more guidance about how you can actually walk this path in terms of the direction to take, in terms of some specific instructions, maybe from spirit or from any of the goddesses or energies that you work with. Okay, now let us just close off this reading with a final affirmation card from spirit here. Okay, we have: the door that closes for me is the wrong door. The door that opens for me is the right door. Okay, so this is related to that bittersweet message there. Just know that anything that has ended in your life, it happened for a reason. All right, and then we also have, I choose to live with courage. I do not allow others to intimidate me. I stand my ground. I never give up. Okay, this is definitely a Five of Swords, that kind of like competition. I wonder if some of you might have been a little bit intimidated by others, or maybe there's a little bit of other people being a little bit mean as well. If that's the case, stand your ground, okay? And the last card we have is, in my heart, I know that good things are coming my way. Beautiful. And I do want to check out what's underneath the deck. We have here, the universe has something very special in store for me. Okay, so pile number 1, this is what I see for your reading. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this brought you the clarity that you were seeking, and I look forward to reading for you in future as well. Bye now. Hello Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. So we're going to start off with our tarot cards to channel a real talk from spirit. Okay, so your very first card is the Two of Swords, followed by the Four of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, as well as the Ten of Swords in reverse. Okay. Alright, Pile 2. So the real talk from spirit is essentially about you guys needing to make up your minds on something in your life, alright? And the thing here is that there is an environment that is very comfortable for you, but it no longer encourages your growth anymore. And you know that. You know that you somehow, at some point, will need to leave this environment and this comfort zone. It's just that for many of you, leaving has been so difficult. I think you've tried to leave, but then you kind of like kept going back to this comfort zone, going back to the nest, if I may put it that way. For some of you, this is maybe literally your home, your family home, where you've tried maybe to leave, and you know that maybe it's a good thing to leave home, to forge your own path some way, but then you kept going back, or you found it very difficult to leave for whatever reason it is. For others of you, this could also be a relationship that you find it really difficult to move on from, be it a romantic or maybe even like a group of friends that you know no longer really encourage you to kind of like be better in life. In fact, these friends might be doing things that are holding you back, whether or not they are doing it consciously or unconsciously, right? But they may have certain patterns or behaviors or expectations that are holding you back, and you know you should leave this comfort zone, but for many of you, it's just very difficult to move on just because it's that comfortable. Okay. And moving on is also not easy with the Ten of Swords over here. Knight of Pentacles to the Ten of Swords is this idea of you guys needing to move on and what that would entail. This is not an easy journey by any means. You know that it will take time. You know that you will need a lot of willpower and patience to rebuild something in your life. You know that. This is also, for instance, if you know that you need to leave a career, and you know that whatever job that you're working in is no longer really serving you and your highest good, but then also finding it difficult to even content with the idea of having to move on to a different career or work in a different company and have to build your name and build your work all over again from scratch. There's a lot of resistance to moving on, and the Ten of Swords here is all of the mental resistance that you can't quite overcome. Spirit is also saying that for many of you, you haven't really convinced yourself that moving on is the right thing to do, and that's why you're kind of stuck between two places and feeling a little bit indecisive about your next steps. So when they say that you haven't quite made up your mind, there is truth to that, because yes, moving on will entail you probably having to build a lot of things up from the ground up again, and that's not an easy endeavor. So it's not to say that you should just move on and you should just go and do whatever is in your highest good. Like, it's a lot easier said than done, and this real talk from Spirit is also acknowledging that is not easy. They want to acknowledge that. Spirit knows that. But the main point from Spirit in this message here is that you need to make up your mind. If you stay or you leave, either way, there is no judgment about the decision you make, but you need to make a decision, because otherwise you would be stuck in this limbo state, and it's not the best feeling to be in, and also not the most productive or conducive kind of state to be in, because you're always like half here, half there. You're never really fully committed to anything, and you might also be kind of like spending, like overstaying your welcome in a situation, especially if you're meant to move on from it, and so you don't want to do that. You don't want to be overstaying your welcome and spending more time in a certain situation or relationship than is necessary, okay? The changes will come, is what Spirit is saying as well. If you don't make the decision to move, Spirit will push you and nudge you in a certain direction as well, okay? So that divine intervention may come in, but for now, you're being encouraged to make up your own mind first, before we get to the point where Spirit needs to step in, okay? So let's grab you your oracle cards and see what else Spirit wants you to know. We have here Reunion of Souls. That's very interesting because Pile 1 also got that card. Okay, we have Perception and Anger. Underneath the deck, we have Slow but Steady. Okay. Anger is very interesting because this is the feeling I'm getting. Some of you are pretty resentful of the comfort zone you're in, but it's just too good to leave with Reunion of Souls over here. This is a place that you have built up brick by brick, right? Be it a career or a relationship or a friendship or some kind of a home. Maybe this is your actual home that you've built up brick by brick, right? And it's hard to just up and go. But you're getting pretty resentful of the demands it's requiring to upkeep this home of yours, okay? So we're being asked to really examine our perception of the situation, right? Because yes, things are good on the one hand, but we also have to take a look at the cons and weigh it out properly for ourselves, not from an emotional point of view. Because when we get emotional about it, Spirit is saying that you guys just tend to almost like you don't want to deal with it when it gets to that emotional point. It's too much. This anger, this weight on you is just too much to deal with, and we're not able to see things clearly when we're in that state. So rather than waiting till we're very emotional about something to actually look at it, perception here is asking for us to analyze the situation more logically. For instance, if you are, to give an example of the home, right? if you're living in like a beautiful home that you have, and it's something that you've decorated and you've made it really like amazing for for yourself, and you've kind of like tailored this home to your comfort zone and your needs, right? And it has all of your creature comforts, but you're living in a city that doesn't have the right opportunities for you. You're living in a city that doesn't really vibe with you. Maybe you don't have a support system here. You don't really have your friends here. Maybe the city isn't really matching in terms of energy. Uh, there are all of these other factors that are making this home hard to stay in, but you've built up this creature comfort of a home that also makes it hard to leave, right? And so therefore, when you think about leaving or you think about moving cities, you might start to feel a lot of resentment towards your life in the city, in this place. And that resentment could just make it a very difficult conversation to have with yourself. In fact, some of you just don't even want to have the conversation. You don't even want to open it up because it's just pissing you off that much. But we need to. At some point, we really need to look at things clearly to be able to find the answers. We cannot keep kind of like being stuck in between two point of views, okay? Let's see what else Spirit wants you to know here. We have grief and acceptance. Wow. Underneath the deck, we have abundance. Okay. Grief and acceptance, these are such poignant cards because part of your journey is about moving on from something. And this involves grieving the loss of a certain life or the loss of a certain identity that you once had. Grief comes in so many ways, shapes and forms. And anytime we are letting go and moving on from something, we may experience the feelings of loss and of having to say goodbye and move on from something. It can feel so permanent that it's like you know that you will never be able to have this kind of situation or this kind of relationship or this kind of thing in your life again, and that's what makes it so difficult to move on. But acceptance is a beautiful kind of a healing for grief because it helps us to see that life is made up of these imperfect moments, right? Life does consist of even a heavier emotion like grief, and we need to find acceptance in our hearts to be able to let go and receive something better in our lives. And I love that abundance is underneath the deck because I think some of you are worried that you wouldn't be able to recreate this or to find anything like this in a different situation. Like you will never have a career that pays this well. You will never have a home this beautiful. You'll never have a relationship that's this amazing anymore. But abundance here is saying that, well, there's more than enough of everything to go around in the world, right? And it's only our own limited perceptions that prevent us from seeing the opportunities around us. So whatever it is that you are looking for, you are gonna find it and better. All right, you will be able to find an even better thing. So allow yourself to consider that possibility that there is something better in store for you beyond this situation that you know you have to move on from. Okay, let's see what else Spirit has for you in terms of a real talk. All right, we have two cards. Earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, time in nature. Again, we have this message of slowing down. There was that slow and steady card earlier on. I think slowing down is really necessary for you guys to make this decision. Like, you know, to make an informed decision, not just based on emotions, not just based on logic and analysis only, because emotions are part of the information, right? Like they also tell us important things. But in order to really look at things in totality, I think you guys need to slow down. Life could be a little bit too stressful. There could be just a lot going on, and therefore it's not easy to actually sit down and think things through properly. And so that's why you might be procrastinating on making this decision. But take some time, spend some time intentionally to slow down, maybe just for a weekend or two, to really just consider your options and see what you can do for yourself, see what you can create for yourself, right? And see, what kind of new possibilities are available to you. Okay, we also have empathic starseed, energetic sovereignty, absorbing what's not yours. Okay, so yeah, so there's a message that's very clear here, absorbing what's not yours, which is essentially saying that you guys are staying in a place that's not really yours. Energetically, it's not aligned, it's not compatible, and you know that. You know it's not compatible with you. So you're picking up too much information, and sometimes I think some of you might be a little bit like in a state of emotional overload, especially if like you're working in a very stressful job, or you're living in a very what do you call it, overstimulating like city, or overstimulating environment. Like you're taking in so much, but you guys really just need to put pause on that situation, give some distance between you and them, and you might be able to see things a lot more clearly. But when you're like so up close to it, it could be hard to actually discern what's yours and what's not yours, right? And you're taking on everybody's stress, everybody's challenges, everybody's noise and their drama and all that, and it becomes like a big mess of emotions and information that makes it difficult to really hear what is in your heart. So yeah, maybe some time in nature is going to be helpful for you, just away from people, away from the crowds, to just listen, to your heart for a moment. All right, underneath the deck, we have Star Keeper. It says here, Cosmic Ancestor, seed the light by staying grounded. Yeah, a lot of grounding is needed for you guys. Again, it feels like emotional overload, just information overload as well. So take some time away to figure things out for yourself. Slow down. You'll be able to find the answers from within, all right? Now let's grab you some Isis Oracle messages and see what she wants to tell you. Some real talk from Isis herself. All right. We have Chariot of Ascension, spiritual work of the higher initiate. And underneath the deck, we have Lady of the Stars, Priestess of Sirius. Okay, I'm going to read from the book for these two, so give me 1 second. Let me pull out the passage. Chariot of Ascension says here, your soul wishes to travel more freely between the dimensions of higher reality. This is to allow for conscious spirit communication, the free flow of soul light into the physical body, and the joining in divine harmony of heaven and earth. It requires a powerful consciousness to do this. The Makarbha, Chariot of Ascension and Soul Fire, is a spiritual gift to attain these divine purposes now, available to you as a high initiate. This is you wanting to actually listen to your higher self, listen to spirit, and actually tune into what's in your highest good. So many of you are craving to do that, and that's why there's this kind of like push to want to like go away for a bit, be quiet and be by yourself, enjoy some time in solitude, to be able to listen more closely to what really is in your heart and in your soul. Okay, so this is coming in, the opportunity to perhaps go away on a weekend trip, take some time off, actually feel and heal yourself. Okay, I'm also going to read what was underneath the deck, which is Lady of the Stars. All right, and Lady of the Stars says, Sirius is the celestial goddess, a star of unconditional love and wisdom, and an extremely high vibration. It brings deep soul awakening, spiritual gifts, and a high capacity for divine service. Lady of the Stars is also an empowerment of all other oracles in this deck. She tells you to pay attention because something significant is taking place now. Oh my God. Okay, so there's something significant taking place now. I think you guys can feel it. You're very empathic. How do you say the word empathic? You're very empathic. You're definitely feeling that there's a shift happening, and it's happening for you. So pay attention to the signs that you get, to the information you receive, because it's all pointing you in a certain direction that is in your highest good, okay? And I just want to grab some final affirmation cards from Spirit to see what they want you to see what they want to leave you with. And it says here, I don't need to control life. I trust in magic and miracles. Beautiful. And underneath the deck, we have every dark night must turn into a bright new morning. All right, so pile number 2, this is what I see for your reading. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this reading brought you the clarity that you were seeking, and I do look forward to reading for you in future as well. Bye now. Hello, pile 3, and welcome to your reading. So we're going to start off with our tarot cards to channel a real talk from spirit, and then we're going to grab our oracle cards next, okay? So we are starting off with the 3 of Swords. We have the Empress in reverse. We've got Devil in reverse as well. And finally, we have the 8 of Wands. All right, real talk from spirit is that you guys are dealing with a really big dilemma. Something is not easy to discern when it comes to the Empress and the Devil both in reverse, right? Because the Empress in reverse is a situation that is no longer meant for you. It's no longer really nurturing you. It's no longer in your highest interest, right? When the Empress isn't on your side, when you have a quality of something that isn't in alignment with the Divine Feminine, and more so in misalignment with the Divine Feminine, you know that this person or this situation is out to get you. And they're not really here to look after you. They're not really here to care for you, unlike what they might say, okay? So there is a discomfort, a really big one as well with this situation. However, what makes it difficult to actually just cut ties with this thing is the Devil in reverse as well, because there's a part of you that is saying that, well, it's not that bad. You know, it's understandable why this person would do this or why this situation is this way to you. A really good example I can bring up is, for instance, if you have a boss who doesn't really look out for you, doesn't really mentor you, but they are your boss and they're just doing their job, right? Is it really their fault that they're not mentoring you? Like, it's hard for you to say that, to pin this responsibility on them. And they might give you some backhanded compliments here and there. They might be a little bit unreasonable every now and then, but then they are your boss, you know? So the Devil is like, well, I don't know if I can fully like write off this behavior, right? Because they still are my boss, you know? So you kind of like have a reason to excuse this person for their behavior, but you know that's not what you really thrive under. Like, you would thrive under a boss that is more nurturing, that is more of a mentor, a boss that actually looks out for you and has your best interests at heart. Like, you know you would thrive under this person, but it's not like your current situation is that out of the norm, you know? So you're kind of like in between these two things and wondering what to do about the situation. And the real talk from spirit is coming through with the 3 of Swords and the 8 of Wands over here. And I'm not a reader that tends to tell people what to do. So I'm not going to tell you that you should stay or you should leave in this situation, but I'm going to tell you what Spirit is saying, okay? Spirit is saying that the 3 of Swords here is the frustration that you feel. And they're bringing this up to the surface to acknowledge it for you and also to encourage you to acknowledge it, because you know in your heart of hearts that there's something about this situation that doesn't make you feel great. In fact, it's conflicting with your values, it's conflicting with what you think is best for you as well. Right? The 3 of Swords, sometimes I do see this as the mind and the heart being in conflict with each other. Right? So your mind might say one thing, which is the Devil, but your heart might feel another, which is the Empress in reverse. So you know that this situation is not ideal, but you're just bargaining your way around. You're just trying to say that, well, maybe, you know, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. But it's really not, all right, with the 3 of Swords, because you have this conflict here. The 8 of Wands over here is asking you, well, where do you really want to go? And can you go there, right? Does this place exist? Because if you want a boss that's more nurturing, that is more reasonable to work under, you want a work environment, for example, if this is about work, if you want a work environment that is more conducive and more supportive for you, does this work environment exist? If the answer is yes, that such an environment obviously exists somewhere, you just need to search for it, then go after it. The Eight of Wands here is calling for you to move your energy in the direction of the place you want to go. Okay, if you're thinking of some kind of outcome in your life, really the only question Spirit has for you is, well, does that person or situation exist? Is there an example of this, right? Are you thinking reasonably, or are you just out of your mind? Like, for instance, if you feel like there is no single person on planet Earth that can be your soulmate. Well, that's a bit that's a bit extreme, because there are billions of people. Surely there's one person who could be your soulmate, right? So it's that kind of energy here. Does your thing exist? If it does, right, with all of the conditions that you say you want it to have, with all of the embellishments and all of the details you want it to entail, if it exists, then go after it. It's as simple as that, okay? So that's the Spirit's answer to you. Let's find out a little bit more information about what's the real talk from Spirit here, okay? We have Ascension, number 24. And discernment. Okay, yeah, we were literally just talking about discernment. So ascension and discernment are perfect, because this is calling for you to dream bigger and calling for you to dream the real dream, right? You are compromising and settling for something that's not meant for you, something that's not like the most compatible with you as well. And the Eight of Wands and Ascension is saying, well, you can go and dream bigger, dream higher, go further and higher places. Why not? Why is that a problem? Is the answer back to you. And Spirit is also wanting to say that this goal of yours is so possible, and it doesn't matter how big your goal is. Like, maybe you want to be a millionaire, and that's like crazy for you, because nobody in your family has ever reached that level of financial freedom or financial status, right? And for you, maybe becoming a millionaire is like insane work. But really, is it? How many millionaires are there in the world? How many people are multi-millionaires, right? So is it really impossible? It's not. So Spirit is calling for you to dream big and to go after your dreams. All right, so have discernment in terms of what you think is possible or impossible in your life, okay? Underneath the deck, we have number 35, inner journey. Yeah, this is about is that inner journey to discover, what's a limiting belief, what's something that we've placed as some kind of a limitation inside of us, or in a way, how are we settling for the ceiling that we've placed inside ourselves? And how can we break out of that mold? And there's a lot of inner work that goes on to free ourselves from those chains, okay? Chains, which is very much devil energy over there. Okay, let's see what else Spirit wants you to know over here. We have rejection and release. All right. Underneath the deck, we have service. Okay. Rejection and release. I feel like many of you keep rejecting yourself. You keep rejecting your own proposals, your own ideas. Every time you think that this is something you want to do, you literally tell yourself no before the idea even has time to take root or take seed, right? So we need to be mindful of how we're constantly rejecting ourselves, even before the world has given us any feedback. Okay, and I think some of you find it a little bit difficult to move on from some kind of past situation. I feel like release and service are kind of like coming together, because this service card, the imagery over here looks a lot like somebody being a caretaker. And this could be literal, meaning that you had to be a caretaker and you recently had to send a loved one off. But this could also be more metaphorical in that you're constantly taking care of somebody else's dreams. You're constantly being in service to somebody else. Oh yeah, this is could be like you are, working as an employee, right? And you're like building somebody else's dreams. Maybe this is also, for instance, if you are a partner to somebody and you're helping them to build up their life and their dream, but you've not really devoted time to yourself to build up your life and your dreams. Okay, so service over here is calling for you to recognize that you've been there for others and you've been so supportive of their dreams and their goals in life, but where's that support for yourself? Where is that same kind of enthusiasm and belief and faith that you've given to other people? Where is that for yourself? All right, so we really need to let go of our own limiting self-concept and self-image and be able to see that what we want for ourselves is possible just the way that we see that it's possible for other people in our lives. Okay, let's check out some other messages from Spirit with this oracle deck over here. All right, we have a lot of cards. I'm gonna do this again because let's just be a bit more intentional. Okay, and the card just fell on the ground. Give me 1 second. All right, and the card you have is Cracked Open, Rock Bottom, Surrender to the Alchemy of Life. And let's get you one more. Okay, you have a lot of cards. Let's just look at it. Okay, you got the Love, Hardarian Energy, Codependency and Boundaries. You have the Void, Stop, Embrace Winter, Great Cosmic Womb. And then you have Star Brothers, Horus, Protection, Loyalty, Safety, and Trust. Okay, and what's underneath the deck? Let's see. You've got Earth Pulsing, Pulse of the Mother, Slow Down, Time in Nature. Okay, if I could combine these messages and bring through a common thread that I'm seeing, energetically speaking, this is you finding your own voice and finding your own way. With the cracked open here, you're kind of like being cracked open, right? To reveal your soul gifts, your soul truth, and kind of like having to see your own self-worth and your own gifts and purpose when you feel like you're at the literal bottom of your life. When you feel like there's nothing more for you to offer, what Spirit is doing for you here is to show you what really is inside of you. And at that point in your life, when you are at rock bottom, there are a lot of what do you call it, relationships that we need to re-examine at that point. Who's there with us when we're at rock bottom and who's not, right? Who's kicking sand in our eyes when we're right down there and who's actually helping us up? So this situation over here is calling for you to let go of codependency, helping you to find who are your real people, right? Star brothers. Who's your real soul tribe in this situation? And also being in the void, being in this zone where there's nothing more for you that needs to be said or done, only just to receive this this divine message from the universe. So allow yourself to be in this kind of like silence for a little bit. It's getting a little bit of a spiritual journey and a spiritual process, and so you might be dealing with like a career situation, but actually there's so much more like spirituality going on behind it, because as you're examining what's your next step, you may not have a clear answer, and that is the void, right? That is the void where we don't really know what to do next with our lives, with ourselves. We don't really have a clear goal. And that's why Spirit was asking, I think, what do you want and where do you want to go? And does that place exist? They're calling for you to be in that void and imagine, have the vision for what you want, because that is where we can create. By being in the void, everything is possible. So really ask yourself, really honestly, at this point in your time in your life, do I know what I want, and do I know if it's possible? And if it is, spirit can co-create this with you. You will be able to create it. Okay, so that's the message here from the void as well. And even earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, this is that co-creation happening, right? Because we're in the cradle of the earth. We're deep in this divine feminine energy that is creative in and of itself. It is a vessel of life. So there's something about your energy here that is very fertile, and you're able to make things in your life right now. So it's actually a really good time to start something new, to do these things, all right, and move forward with some aspect in your life. Okay, I'm gonna grab some Isis Oracle cards next to see what else Spirit wants you to know for a real talk. All right, we have Chariot of Ascension. Well, Pile 2 also got this exact same card. And underneath the deck for you, we have Soul Retrieval, Deep Soul Healing with the Goddess. Okay, I'm going to read out of a book for these ones, so give me 1 second. All right, and Chariot of Ascension says here, your soul wishes to travel more freely between the dimensions of higher reality. This is to allow for conscious spirit communication, the free flow of soul light into the physical body, and the joining in divine harmony of heaven and earth. It requires a powerful consciousness to do this. The Merkaba, Chariot of Ascension and Soul Fire, is the spiritual gift to attain these divine purposes now, available to you as a high initiate. So Spirit is communicating to you, and your prayers are being heard, all right, with the Chariot of Ascension. So pay attention. I'm even hearing pay attention to your dreams, because that's also one way in which your guides and in which Spirit is talking to you. Okay, let's read Soul Retrieval as well. Isis, Healing Goddess, now offers you spiritual restoration and deep soul healing through the art of soul retrieval, reclaiming pieces of you lost through trauma, old and new. Soon you will enjoy greater wellness, energy and power, as well as the opening of gifts and soul abilities you did not know you had. Okay, so there's a massive healing taking place for you as well. Soul retrieval is like big healing. This situation is definitely more than meets the eye. I feel a lot of you are like downplaying the significance of this situation, maybe because there's part of you subconsciously that knows that if you were to acknowledge the discomfort that you face in this situation, that would also mean that you will need to make some pretty major changes in your life. And some of you just feel like you're not really ready, or you don't know if you are ready for these major changes. So you're trying to delay the inevitable over here, and that's why you're putting it off here. So there's a little bit of procrastination going on, but really what's happening is that the situation is really unfolding so much more in your life, and it's going to really show you exactly who you are and what you're called to do. Okay, so there's a big unfoldment taking place for you in this situation over here. Let's grab you some final affirmation cards from Spirit as well. Okay, all right, and we have, I'm thankful for many things, and my gratitude attracts abundance into my life. And underneath the deck, I am a unique child of the universe, perfectly me, exactly as I am meant to be. All right, and pile number 3, this is what I see for your reading. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this reading brought you the clarity that you were seeking, and I look forward to reading for you in the future as well. Bye now.